The title of the message is Freedom, which is Bound by Love. It's too contrasting where you say that you have freedom and then also you're bound by something. And I was trying to figure out if there is anything absolutely called as freedom or not, right? When you say about freedom, but we do have certain boundaries and restrictions. I was wondering, like, is that truly there is absolute freedom or not? And that's what we're going to look at from today's scripture. I just wanted to give you a short background, like if you've missed some of our previous sessions, just to understand about the church at Corinth. Paul wrote this letter to address various issues and conflict within the church in Corinth, provide them a guidance on matters of doctrines and how to have a good Christian living and promote unity and love amongst them and spiritual maturity among believers. You could say the church at Corinth was one of a very good church in certain ways, and they were also bad in certain areas. They were blessed with many spiritual gifts, right? They had a very enthusiastic worship, right? We had a great time of worship today morning. And I would say the church of Corinth was nothing but more the modern contemporary churches that we see in today's time would have been something like the church of Corinth at that time. It was a very lively church, but as all churches, they too had problems. There was division and quarreling among them. There was acts of immorality. There were misuse of spiritual gifts. They were too much relying on the worldly wisdom that they had, the Greek wisdom. They had doubts about resurrection. They had lawsuits and conflicts among each other. And they had improper conduct at the Lord's Supper, right? So they were no means by a perfect church, right? And in this chapter particularly, we see Paul is addressing certain areas of discipline. And last two sessions that we had where he'd been talking about idol worship, food that is being offered to idols, whether we are supposed to eat it, and it also talks about our freedom and responsibility when it comes to exercising our freedom. We have to embrace sexual purity, that we keep our bodies pure, that we don't involve in sexual immorality, and we trust in God's guidance alone, and we don't put him to test, and we cultivate a heart of gratitude and joy, and we avoid grumbling and complaining. At some point of time, even I felt very difficult to, follow all of this. At times, we want to know how we can do, and as a youngster, it's very difficult. But as you grow, especially when you become a parent, you really understand God's heart, and you really understand why he wants you to be, disciplined, and why. The thing that I love about God is that I'm sure you all agree that he's perfect, he's just, he's holy, and he's pure, right? Yes, he's strong and mighty. He's there for us whenever we need. He's faithful. But one of the things that really fascinates me that he's pure and he's holy. He's a holy God, right? And when I look at my children, I don't want them to respect me that because I am their father, that I gave them birth. No, I want them to respect me for who I am to them, right? I want to be pure. I want to be faithful to my wife alone, that they know my father is faithful, right? Paul says that, you see, I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial or constructive. That this emphasizes the balance between personal freedom and responsibility, right? Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law, right? Paul is saying that law was not enough, right? That's why Christ came as a fulfillment of the law, that where there is, we are under the grace, and he says that we have love. When we have love between one another, he says that's the best rule, that there will be no harm, right? When there are two people in a room, love will cause no harm to that person, right? That is the importance why we need to keep sharing the gospel, is that this is the rescue plan that God has, right? The law is not enough, right? That's why Christ had to. Next he says that, we must avoid to cause or to be a stumbling block for others, right? You know, in Galatians 5, he says, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. If you go on YouTube, search for epic fails, you will get good videos of how people stumble and fall down. It's really good to watch, as sometimes people get entertained. But that's what people do when you stumble and fall. Like, it looks very funny. Like, you don't just fall, you tumble and you roll, and it's something like there's a lot of animation in that, and it's come suddenly as a surprise, and you enjoy it. Right? My daughter really gets upset. She'll say, "Dora, don't laugh when somebody falls." Right? And my father would say that as well, that don't laugh somebody when somebody falls. Right? And when we as a church become a stumbling block and we have people falling around, the devil is having the entertainment of watching and laughing on all of us. Right? So we need to be very careful that are we being a stumbling block to others. Right? And in this chapter, he's addressing this issue of eating food that is being served to idols. Right? And as I was saying earlier, that maybe this is not so relevant to all of us. Some would face in workplaces. Yes, we often get people who come up with sacred foods, and how we can say no to them. It's sometimes very difficult and challenging. No one should seek their own good exclusively, but prioritize the good of others. This highlights the importance of considering the impact of our actions on others. Like, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. This should be our ultimate desire and our goal, that we work towards creating an environment that is secure for everyone, that we remember what Christ has done, like that. He gave up his own rights. Right? Philippians 2:7 says, instead he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. Like, Christ has given up his own right. So shall we give up our rights for our brothers and sisters, that they may enjoy the freedom